and go Moorhead.
Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our wonderful, talented, what else can we use? Ag Director.
Finally in studio.
Finally in the studio, Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. And thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. It's not every day I get to come in, but
it's always good to see your smiling face.
Well,
and you always bring cowbell.
I do, and we don't use the cowbell nearly enough. We're going to have to figure out, maybe we should ask our listeners when they listen to us here on WDAY, what's the appropriate time to always ring the bell?
Always a good time.
Okay, you never know.
Always a good time. Ring it for good weather, ring it for sunshine. We have a lot of clouds out there today, but we are going to see those clouds start to break up a little bit. Currently, we're sitting in the 40s across the area, 43 degrees, but winds are light out of the west at 10, so not too bad out there, but it's jacket weather, no doubt about it, and we'll see more clouds for the first part of the afternoon here, and then as we head towards evening, we'll see a little more sunshine. Highs pretty close to 50, but the better weather comes as we head towards the upcoming weekend. Last weekend, almost record warmth. This weekend, not as nice, but it's still looking darn nice out.
So are you saying that this week we're going to get, once that sun starts to break out, feels a little bit warmer out there, that's well needed. We do have some folks at the north end of the valley that would very much like to see a little sunshine. They've gotten just enough rain to keep them from being productive in the field, and they'd like to finish corn harvest.
Yeah, and we'll see a dry stretch of weather here coming up over the next 5 to probably 6 days before things start to change after Halloween. And as we were saying yesterday with the LRC pattern, this point last year, remember we had a wet fall and a wet spring.
Oh, yes, I do.
So we had over 2 inches of rain last fall, just up to this point.
And that was primarily through September and October, correct?
This was just since the start of the LRC cycle, October 6th. Last year, from October 6th to now, we had over 2 inches of liquid precip. This year, we've had under 2/10.
Quite a change.
Again, that's a huge swing, and we could still change this around before the cycle sets, but I'll tell you, it's going to be the next 2 to 3 weeks are crucial.
Absolutely.
And agriculture is going to want to pay attention because, again, everything cycles back. If we're dry over the next 3 weeks, expect drought conditions as we head into the spring and summer. We don't want that. I mean, and it'll get worse. It'll get drier
that's right,
and drier.
Unless you're telling me it's record snowfall of some sort. But our fear then is with our ground frozen, we don't get a lot of absorption. It's all going to run off and hit our rivers and streams.
Mm-hmm. And the good news is, and we'll cover this on the national story, getting some much-needed rain in the Mississippi River Basin, especially south of Memphis, so that's good for them.
Will we raise the barges? Let's see.
We need it. We need it. But again, we want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. And don't go anywhere. We're going to take a brief break with ABC News. We'll come back. We'll talk more about local weather, and then we've got a special guest later on about 1:20. We'll have more on that coming up after the break.
From ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. Jury selection continues today here in New York City for the criminal fraud trial of the last president's namesake company. Prosecutors assert the company provided off-the-books compensation to certain executives.
The person who's really in a pickle is Alan Weisselberg, the CFO of the Trump Organization, longtime CFO of the company, who has signed a plea deal whereby he gets 100 days for his 15 admitted crimes. But that can balloon up to 15 years if he fails to tell the truth.
ABC News legal analyst Jeff Robbins, the company itself has pleaded not guilty. Midterm elections 2 weeks from today, early voting underway in a majority of states. In Arizona, the Secretary of State has referred 6 cases of alleged voter intimidation at ballot drop boxes across the country, I should say across the state, to the U.S. Justice Department. Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone.
It's undermining who we are as a nation, and I think that it's self-serving in many ways. And what do I see now as the sheriff of one of the biggest counties in the nation? I see that every day I'm dedicating a considerable amount of resources just to give people confidence that they can cast a vote safely, and that is absurd.
Early voting opened in Florida Monday. Fort Lauderdale voter Mark Journey choosing candidates who aren't parroting the stolen election lie.
I want to make sure there are people on the ballot that don't think that way, that aren't trying to mislead people into thinking that there's been some sort of massive fraud or anything like that.
A sizable drop in gas prices in the last week. The government's national average price for a gallon of regular fell 10 cents, now at just under $3.77 a gallon, most of that attributable to the 26 cents a gallon drop along the West Coast. His family says Spaniard Santiago Sanchez, who was trekking from Madrid to Doha for the World Cup, has not been heard from since the day after he crossed into Iran 3 weeks ago. Was last seen in Iraq after hiking through 15 countries. You're listening to ABC News.
Attention all business owners who rent or lease space, including storage space. Stop wasting your money paying someone else for your space. You can now save a ton of money and own your own building with the incredible sale prices from General Steel. That's right, start saving money every month on renting space from others. Just call 888-74-STEEL to see how General Steel can help you save money. Our 50-year structural warranty buildings are custom designed for your needs and save you a ton of money. Call 888-74-STEEL.
Take it from a successful entrepreneur. If you need to expand or start a new business, you need General Steel.
Great team and the competitive pricing is the reason I went with General Steel.
Call 888-74-STEEL now, and you can get any of our popular quick construction structures, including a 40 by 60-foot building or a 50 by 100 clear span building, fast and easy. Call 888-74-STEEL. That's 888-747-8335. 888-74.
Hi, this is Stacy from Midtown Tavern, featuring Dwayne's House of Pizza. Who else in town has a glycol polar plate system? What? It's a secondary system for chilling tap beer. Put that in one of our frosted mugs and it's the coldest beer in town. Everyone wants the coldest beer. Midtown Tavern has it. Combine that with a Dwayne's Pizza, as well as our vast menu with many handmade menu items, specials every day of the week, and a multi-purpose room up to 50 people. Stop in to visit us. The Midtown Tavern, 2223 Highway 10 East in Moorhead.
Think pink and help make a difference, because during Pucklich and Valley City's Why Pink event, we're donating $100 for every vehicle sold and $10 for every service repair order. Help us reach our goal of $10,000 donated to the JRMC Cancer Center and Sanford Roger Maris Cancer Center. So think pink and help make a difference as we raise $10,000 during our Why Pink event at Pucklich Chevrolet Buick GMC in Valley City.
Do you love working on cars but don't love your current job? If so, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Matthew Carlson, owner of Fix It Forward Auto Care. We're a family-owned full-service auto repair shop looking to hire skilled automotive technicians. With our state-of-the-art shops, great work environment with competitive pay and benefits, you'll enjoy a great job with a bigger purpose and a lot of opportunity for advancement. Visit FixItForwardAutoCare.com to apply. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix It Forward Auto Care. Hi, this is Kevin Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer's Auction Company. Pfeiffer's upcoming October auctions include 442 acres of crop and pasture land in McHenry County, 159 acres of exceptional cropland in Ward County, 1,620 acres of crop and pasture land in Emmons County, south of Bismarck, North Dakota, and 80 acres of hunting land in Roseau County, Minnesota. View these auctions and many more land and farm estate retirement auctions at Pfeiffers.com.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. We want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. And we had a caller during break. They couldn't stick around, but they wanted to know, let's see, what the Halloween forecast was going to look. Will we have dry weather around Halloween? The answer is yes, we will. We do have a front coming through the area as we head towards, it looks like Tuesday. Even if that came through a day early, if that storm sped up a little bit and came through early, I'm not seeing any precip right now. So it looks like a dry Halloween forecast. Great news for the trick-or-treaters. Temperatures probably in the 50s, it looks like.
Oh, remember, you and I and Justin have a bet about Halloween.
Yep.
We should perhaps decide the stakes on that.
It looks, well, we will tomorrow when he gets back.
And I hope it's actually a steak, S-T-E-A-K.
Not S-T-A-K-E. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. But yeah, right now it looks pretty decent.
Okay.
But colder weather does follow Halloween, which that's not out of the ordinary.
It'll be November.
Yeah, it's November. And so, again, we'll keep an eye on it. There's a slight chance that system speeds up and we get that front through here. But right now it looks good. It looks good. Temperatures the whole weekend right around 60 degrees.
So you may need to dress the kids in one extra layer, but not necessarily a snowsuit or a raincoat yet.
I think last year was really cold. Tom Tucker was saying on Halloween as well.
I do not recall.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna do. You want to do weather trivia? Let's throw it out there.
Okay.
Okay. We're gonna give away one of our rain gauges from Productive Alternatives down in Fergus. Beautiful, beautiful rain gauge, and we're gonna do a weather trivia question.
Oh, and also a shout out to Steve in Glendon, because on Monday he emailed us with how much rain he had gotten in his weather rain gauge that we'd given him from Productive Alternatives.
That's fantastic.
And so, Steve, thank you. For anyone that's a winner, we ask that you continue to do that for us here at WDAY. Let us know what the rainfall is in your rain gauge, because it helps us, and Dean reports it to the National Weather Service.
Yes, and that helps them out as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, today's weather trivia question. Again, if you get the correct answer, you'll win one of these beautiful rain gauges. This is the only EF5 documented tornado in the United States during the month of August.
During the month of August
What?
in the U.S.
Yep, this is the only EF5 documented tornado in the U.S. during the month of August. What city or town did it hit?
Well, you're going to have to tell Jacob, who's answering the phone. And for those, again, who want to call in, you can reach us at 701-293-9000. We want to make sure that you give us a call. If you have not won in the last 30 days, then you're eligible to call in today to try to give us that answer. And I bet we'll keep people busy. We're going to find out if we have a winner.
Yeah, it's the only EF5 documented tornado to hit the United States during the month of August. I believe it killed 29 people, over 1,000 homes damaged. It was pretty, yeah, I think it was, it was close to a mile, half mile to a mile wide. It was not documented on any video. Nobody got any pictures of it. It was a rain-wrapped.
Pecos Hank did not get that one.
Pecos Hank did not get this one.
Okay.
It was a rain-wrapped tornado, and it was weird because it was moving. It was one of the only ones, I believe, moving from northwest to southeast. Typically, tornadoes move from southwest to northeast. This came on a cold front moving northwest to southeast.
Hold the phone, and I don't mean for callers. They should still keep calling. But why is there always that same trajectory? Why do they consistently follow the same pattern for a tornado movement?
Because typically tornadoes, and not all the time, they'll form either in a warm sector of a storm where the winds are out of the south or southwest, or they'll form on a warm front as the system moves typically from southwest to northeast, or west to east. But this one formed on a cold front, and it was an odd occurrence. It really was. It was one of the, but yeah. So again, the trivia question, do we have a winner, Jacob? Wow.
We do. That was excellent.
Well, let's get that person on the air. That was quick. I thought this might be a little more difficult.
Well, apparently you're going to have to step up your game on the weather trivia situation over there, Dean.
That's a fast Google search, so somebody must have known that. So
they might have.
So let's put our caller on, and you've got the correct answer to the weather trivia. Who is this?
This is Cody.
Cody, how you doing, Cody? And the answer to that?
Plainfield.
And how did you know that?
I will admit it was Google.
Oh, man. All right. I thought that was a little harder of a Google search.
And it is Plainfield, Illinois. Just
it is.
To clarify
and that's that's my hometown. That's where I grew up in.
Okay.
And I'll never forget that we went back, and it leveled to high school. And it was a day before high school got into session. And if high school would have been in session that day, it would have killed a lot more people.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So, Cody, hey, great guest. Thank you so much for participating, and thanks for listening. And I believe Jacob got all your information. You can come by the studio and pick up your rain gauge.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Cody. Appreciate it.
I was going to ask Cody where he was listening from.
That was
We'll find out from Jacob where he's at. Because
that was a quick Google search. That's hands on.
Hey, you know why that's important? Because these rain gauges are awesome. And Cody really wanted one, so now he'll be one of our weather spotters.
Exactly.
That'll be excellent.
So congratulations, Cody. Yeah, Plainfield, Illinois. I'll never forget that. We were in college at the time, and we were actually spotting that from Northern Illinois University as it passed through there, and had some friends that got killed in that, unfortunately, and it was just friends' houses got leveled, and it was an incredible. It was surprisingly, nobody got any video of that. And it was back in 91, but still, there's video cameras then.
At that time, but not as prevalent.
Yeah, but a huge rain-wrapped EF5 tornado, the only one to hit the U.S.
We are going to go from tornadoes to other bad things that are going on with our guest today. Whoopsie, there goes my water bottle. So our guest is Jeremy Geske. He is a guy in Minnesota. He's an NDSU alumni, but he also is a sheep producer and shows them. And we're going to talk a lot about sheep production coming right up after this.
Did you know that periodontal disease is the #1 health problem in small animal patients? Hello, I'm Dr. Calderwood, a veterinary dental practitioner at Prairie Winds Veterinary Center. By 2 years of age, 80% of dogs and 70% of cats have some form of periodontal disease. If you notice a change in your pet's playful habits, breath, or facial swelling, there's a chance that your pet is suffering from mouth pain. Prairie Winds Veterinary Center can help. Call us at 701-356-5600 or learn more at prairiewindsvet.com.
Oh my gosh. Have you seen it? If you haven't, we know you'll want to. Brockmeyer Tile and Stone has a gorgeous new showroom in Fargo. Really, you've got to see it. Working on your next remodel project? Want to add a touch of granite or quartz? Make sure you stop in to Brockmeyer Tile and Stone to see how we can help you elevate your design. Brockmeyer Tile and Stone will be your go-to for all your next projects, for granite and quartz and sinks too. Come experience what Brockmeyer Tile and Stone can do for you and your next project. 833 24th Avenue East, West Fargo, just south of Costco.
Hey, Chris Berg here. Radio personalities like myself, we spend a ton of time and energy during the day, obviously in front of the computer. We're looking for news stories for you, talking to callers. So when the day is finally over, I get to go home and crawl into my Comfort King excited because I know I'm going to get a great night's sleep. At Comfort King Mattress Factory, they build a mattress just for you. That's what they do. Comfort King has the only lifetime comfort guarantee. So buy local and shop Comfort King Mattress Factory.
Hey, it's 494 Ronnie from the Jay Thomas Show. And listen, MyPillow is having one of their biggest sales of the year, this time percale sheets. They're available in a variety of colors and sizes and are all on sale. For example, the queen size regular price, $89.98, now only $39.98 with your promo code WDAY. Order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. The percale sheets are breathable and have a cool, crisp feel. These come with a 10-year warranty. Nobody else gives you that. And a 60-day money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible offer. There is a limited supply. So order now. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener square, and use promo code WDAY. You will also get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. Call 800-875-0644 and use promo code WDAY or go to MyPillow.com. That's MyPillow.com using promo code WDAY.
People with chronic lower back pain have often tried lots of different things, and most of those things just don't work, and they're searching things that do work. Non-surgical spinal decompression is a type of treatment done with a specialized machine that has very high success rates, and we're lucky to be one of the few clinics in the entire state that has it.
My name is Sydney, and I had debilitating back pain for 11 years. I went into the clinic to receive treatment. After 8 treatments, I had been feeling much better. After those 8 treatments, I was back to playing volleyball, golf. Dr. Z at the clinic helped me get back to the sports that I love.
A research study performed on low back patients that had already failed medical, chiropractic, and physical therapy, in other words, the surgery group, had a 90% success rate with decompression treatment. So whether it's chronic lower back pain, sciatica, knee injuries from running, neck pain, headaches, or shoulder problems, the clinic can help. Find us at theclinicnow.com. That's theclinicnow.com. theclinicnow.com.
When it's time to build outside the box, build with Thor.
Stan, my mother's coming to stay with us indefinitely.
I need a space for the boys. Where can we watch the big screen, play cards, eat wings, drink, and work?
Stan, there's no room in the garage for my garden tools.
Need more space, whether it's a granny flat, a man cave, a decked out shop condo, or a she shed, or a horse barn. They've gotten creative when it comes to thinking outside the box. Thor Buildings at thorbuildings.com.
Welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. So happy to have you listening this afternoon. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. And We have a fabulous afternoon. For those of you who are listening and maybe you want to join in and ask questions, you always can. 701-293-9000. Today, our guest joining us for this segment is Jeremy Geske. Jeremy and I, as Dean asked on the break, he said, how do you know Jeremy? Well, I know Jeremy through Twitter. I also know he's an NDSU alumni. And usually on Twitter, we are arguing the Beatitudes of rhubarb. I'm in favor. He's not. And that's the one thing where Jeremy's wrong. But anyway, Jeremy Geske is our guest. I'm so glad to have you here. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You're going to let that rhubarb thing slide?
I'll let it slide. I'll get you back later.
Looking forward to it. So, Jeremy, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners today? They're going to wonder who you are, so tell them that, please.
All right. Jeremy Geske, and I am a third-generation sheep farmer, originally from Carrington, North Dakota, now living in New Prague, Minnesota. Let's see, I'm employed by Minnesota State University Mankato as director of the Institute for Regenerative Resources and AgriSciences, and live here on the farm with my two kids. One's now in college and my daughter is junior in high school, and serve in a number of leadership roles in the sheep industry.
So, Jeremy, you're raising sheep, obviously, and what, for those not familiar, what do you sell them? Do you breed them? I mean, what exactly do you do with the sheep?
Sure. So I raise registered Suffolk sheep, which are a meat breed known for their growth and production. My primary goals are marketing breeding stock to other flocks throughout the country, do a little bit of direct marketing to consumers, but primarily almost everything I raise is sold for breeding to other flocks if I don't keep it for myself. Involved in a genetic evaluation program, the National Sheep Industry Improvement Program. So we've got growth EBVs and carcass EBVs on all of our sheep as well.
Okay, just remember you're talking in language that we got to explain. You just said you said your EBDs or EDBs. Can you explain that?
Sure. So like in cattle production where you have EPDs or expected progeny differences, in the sheep industry we have EBVs or estimated breeding value, which is basically an EPD times 2. So they're very similar. It's a measure of genetic potential that they may pass on to their offspring.
So you said that you raise it for the meat, obviously for lamb and mutton. How about milk or their wool as well?
So they're a medium wool breed, and so obviously all wool sheep need to be shorn once a year, and we do market the wool. The wool value for medium quality wool is relatively low most years, and so it's a minor part of the overall process, but it's a necessary job. As far as milk, with this breed, we typically aren't part of the dairy sheep industry, although their daily milk production is relatively high. They don't milk for an extended period of time like a dairy breed would.
All right. I got a lot of questions on the wool here. Okay, so you said medium quality wool.
Yep.
What's the difference of where your wool is going versus a high quality wool?
Sure. So if you think of wool clothing, you need a fine wool, which is typically your merino, rambouillet type of wool, which would be made into your nicer clothing and suits and things like that. Most of our U.S. sheep breeds fit into the medium wool category, which mine are, and that is used for things like carpets, boot liners, and a whole host of things that are not necessarily nice clothing, but ways that we can use wool for these other types of things. Like I said, carpeting, boot liners. They use wool for cleaning up oil spills. They use wool as a mulch for gardens and a number of other things. I could go on and on.
Okay. So when I do fourth grade visits to classrooms around the area talking about ag in the classroom, I always carry a baseball and ask kids how that's related to agriculture. Because, tell me if I'm wrong here, Jeremy, I've always been told that the core of a baseball is wool.
That is correct.
And the look on Wysocki's face as a Cubs fan is awesome.
Wait. So if you open up a baseball, are you talking the yarn on it? Or
no, inside.
It's a rubber core.
Inside the rubber core. You got to cut it open. I'll bring power tools next time.
Okay.
We have a project.
You just blew my mind.
I'm having a great day.
I did not know that.
We've taught one person one thing about sheep today.
There you go.
Okay, so let's take a step back, Jeremy, for listeners here for WDAY's Weather and Ag in Focus. And that is, how'd you get to raising sheep? As a kid out at Carrington, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Foster County. They're not a prevalent species. How did you decide that this is what you wanted to do?
Sure, great question. They used to be a lot more popular way back when I was a kid. All the neighbors had small flocks of sheep to go along with cattle and wheat and whatever else they grew on their farm. But a lot of those flocks have gone away. But anyway, my grandpa, with part of his cattle ranch, he also had a small flock of commercial sheep. And then my father started with the registered Suffolk sheep. And so when I was 9 years old and joined 4-H, I began my own sheep project by picking 3 ewes out of my dad's flock. And each year I would get to kind of keep the offspring of those and maybe add 1 or 2 more from my dad's flock. And the kind of cool thing is even today, several decades later, just about every sheep I have on my farm can be traced back to those same genetics.
That's awesome. So it's like a heritage situation as well.
Yep, absolutely.
That's fantastic. Oh, there's going to be a pile of questions here. And we're going to, at the bottom of the hour, go to some commercial and come back after that, Jeremy. But when we do, one of the things that I would love for you and I to discuss and share with Dean and our listeners is I get asked the question a lot, mutton versus lamb. And I always believe it has to do with the age and the weight of the animal, which greatly affects the taste. So how about after we listen to a few commercials, we're going to come back. And Jeremy, let's answer that question, shall we?
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be back right after this.
Oil and natural gas create opportunities for North Dakota. In fact, over 50,000 North Dakotans have good-paying jobs thanks to the oil and natural gas industry. Real people finding prosperity in their careers and bringing it home for their families and communities. It's one of the many ways oil and natural gas are making life better in North Dakota for generations. North Dakota's oil and natural gas, advancing the possibilities.
Anyone can get a room for gatherings. At Herd and Horns, we provide an experience. Whether it be dinner, corporate event, grad party, groom's dinner, no matter what the occasion, at Herd and Horns, you get a great time. All ages are welcome, plenty of room and games like pool, darts, virtual golf, and more, plus a private bar. Begin the booking process now. Email info@herdandhorns.com or call 701-551-7000. Herd and Horns next to campus in North Fargo, and so much more than bar food.
Listen, this company in Fargo is paying a $17 per hour starting wage, a possible $750 bonus, hourly increases after 90 days, quarterly wage adjustments, and health insurance benefit at 30 hours per week. Red River Human Services of Fargo. This will be a job you'll be proud of, helping adults with developmental disabilities with a culture and benefits nobody else can match. Apply now at Red River Human Services at rrhsf.org. That's rrhsf.org.
The Fargo Forum endorsed my opponent, arguing we need him because he's a long-term politician, a member of Doug Burgum's Good Old Boys Club. They wrote that I have the skills to be your Secretary of State. They just want the establishment politician to win. Let's prove them wrong. I'm Jeffrey Powell, that's with 2 L's. I'm a career educator, and because I'm not a Republican, I won't get involved in the reindeer games in Bismarck. Before November 8, cast your vote for Jeffrey Powell for Secretary of State. Paid for by Jeffrey Powell for North Dakota, Eric Savanasant, Treasurer.
Think pink and help make a difference, because during Puckledge and Valley City's Why Pink event, we're donating $100 for every vehicle sold and $10 for every service repair order. Help us reach our goal of $10,000 donated to the JRMC Cancer Center and Sanford Roger Maris Cancer Center. So think pink and help make a difference as we raise $10,000 during our Why Pink event at Puckledge Chevrolet Buick GMC in Valley City.
This looks like a job for closeout man. No good, huh? What about this?
Hey, this is Johnny Golf Cart here, and if you don't get your golf cart, me and the boys will come find you.
No good? Okay, well, how about this? The largest selection of Club Car Onward golf carts is at All Season Motorsports. 0% financing for up to 36 months on 22 and 23 Club Car Onward golf carts. All Season Motorsports. Better get yours. I-94 and Cheyenne Street, West Fargo.
If you're looking for a great night's sleep,
I'm going to give you 2 suggestions. First, go to Comfort King Mattress Factory. Second, support the community and go to Comfort King Mattress Factory. They'll make you the mattress that you want for your purposes. All the money that you spend will go back into the community. Isn't that what you want? It's a win-win.
You ever wonder who made your bed? Well, you should. And you should wonder what's inside of it. Come to Comfort King and we'll show you the who, what, where, when, and how.
Bonnie and Friends and Brockmeyer Tile & Stone is giving away a $100 gas card. When you hear this, gasoline will be free. Will be free. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gasoline. Be caller 7 to 701-293-9000 and get registered to win the free $100 gas card. That easy. That simple. We're just saying thanks for listening to News Talk 970 WDAY.
Welcome back to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette, Readel, Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. We are so glad that you're here, and we are talking about sheep production. If you have questions, please go ahead and call us at 701-293-9000. You're also welcome to see the pictures from our guests. They're scrolling along today on our Facebook live stream, as well as on Acres TV's live stream. So please watch us there. Our guest, speaking of that guy, is Jeremy Geske. Jeremy is a Twitter friend, a fellow NDSU alumni. He now resides down near Mankato, Minnesota, and is into sheep production. And Jeremy, I asked you a question before we took a commercial break there, and I asked you about lamb or mutton, and I know which one I prefer, and I get a lot of weird looks when I say I'm going to cook lamb. So help me describe what's the difference between lamb or mutton.
Sure. So the basic definition is that lamb is the meat from a younger sheep, and that mutton is the meat from older sheep. And it's really based on the physiological age of the carcass. And so what's kind of happens as the carcass changes and the animal matures, there can be some impact on the eating quality of that meat. And it generally happens somewhere around 14 months or so of age, and there's some flexibility within that. It really doesn't have anything to do with the weight of the animal, but more of the age and maturity level.
Okay, age.
Yeah, and so, and different breeds reach market weight at different times. And so, like, the one thing I get a lot, and I don't want to get off too far in the weeds, but people, when they think of lamb, they think of this tiny newborn cute little thing, and how could you possibly eat that? And that's not what lamb is. They,
No.
We always try to remind people they get up to, the average market weight is in that 140 to 160 pounds of live weight for a sheep. And so, and that can be as young as, some of mine will reach that weight by 4 months of age, and some it takes, a little over a year to reach that weight. So that's kind of the basic definition of lamb versus mutton. I will say that in practice, what actually has happened for the last few years is that we are seeing some slightly older sheep, heavier sheep that have been in feedlots longer that are still being processed as lamb and not as mutton, even though they probably are a little beyond what we would typically classify as that.
Oh, good point.
We were always, when we grew up, we were always raised to believe, and I think a lot of protesters would when they protested, well, how can you eat lamb because they're kept as little, when they're small, locked in a cage, and that's it.
No.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so you can't believe
lot
everything.
of misinformation.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, Jeremy, got a question on sheep milk, because you don't hear a lot about that. I guess what's the difference between, let's say, sheep milk, cow's milk, and goat milk?
So I don't know if I know the best way to describe it all, but you don't see a lot of sheep dairies. There are a couple in North Dakota, or at least there were. There's a few more as you get into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and you get out east, there's more. And sheep milk is typically made into various cheeses versus the cow's milk, which is more for drinking and cheese and a variety of other things. So it's, I guess I don't know the exact, what makes it different from cow or goat, other than, the species it comes from and and for certain diets that are, maybe lactose intolerant or
sure.
have certain allergies, you might, if you can't drink cow's milk, you might be able to get by with sheep or goat.
Is the taste any different?
To be honest, I've never drank sheep milk, so
Okay.
I couldn't tell you. I've had a lot of sheep cheese in my
Okay.
life, and I do like most of that I've had, and so that's kind of my limit of my knowledge in that
Well,
area, I guess.
our guest on Friday will actually be a goat producer from Minnesota,
Okay.
who's originally from the Carrington area as well. So this is a strange coincidence,
really?
but nonetheless, Dean, we're going to have to ask him that same question
Right.
on Friday. So when we think about the production that you're doing with sheep, Jeremy, you also judge sheep, and you were a livestock judger at North Dakota State University. What are you looking for when you're judging sheep?
So I kind of, when I used to coach teams as well, and what I try to teach the kids is, for any species, you start with structural soundness as the most important thing. And so how they walk, their foot and leg structure, their mouth and other things, make sure they're sound first is the most important thing. And then I look at your basic traits that would make an animal valuable to the industry. So your production traits, how fast do they grow? Do they have muscle? Do they have some thickness and body capacity, depth of rib, things that would give them the ability to be good producers and live longer, those type of traits. So kind of start with those. And then obviously there's breed differences and species differences. But then the last thing I look for, and then it is a show ring, which is somewhat, I always describe it as a little bit of a beauty pageant. And so you have to have some eye appeal and some things to make them look nice to go along with those other traits. But the basic things of structural soundness and the production qualities are the most important.
And that's probably going to vary a little bit by breed as well, like you said, right? That you can't judge. It's apples to oranges. You can't judge two different breeds against each other.
Correct.
Okay, good to know. My livestock judging days were short in FFA in my career, and I may have spent a lot more time looking at who was outside the pen than any critter inside. So I'm not a lot of help in this arena, literally, Jeremy. No help.
That doesn't surprise me, and it's not that different from many of the kids that I coached over the years.
Perfect. So what's the most popular question that you get from folks when you are at the fair displaying your animals and your kids are working with them for show? What are some of the questions you have to answer there, Jeremy?
Oh boy, I've had all kinds of things, some very entertaining questions that probably shouldn't be talked about on the air, but one of the things that I get a lot, which surprises me, is, you're getting them ready for the show and people are watching you and you're kind of doing your grooming and clipping and things like that. And any time that the sheep makes a noise, the first reaction from most people is, oh, it doesn't like it. It's mad. It's upset. And because it makes a noise. And so I always try to explain, that it's just talking. It's talking to its friends. It's talking to the other sheep. And that's really all it's doing is communicating. And they're like, oh, I never thought about it that way. That's probably one of the big questions I got. That there's always the funny ones where you maybe have a ram on the trimming stand and somebody's pointing out the udder and you have to explain that, no, that's not an udder.
That's you're right. There's a difference in gender in livestock.
Yep.
Okay. Good point. So I can only imagine there's sometimes you have to duck and cover your smirk, but yet you still are able to answer all those questions, which is greatly appreciated.
Right. And I do, I try to tell my kids, sometimes you'll get some really off the wall questions, but just to try to keep in mind that, these are people that just really don't know. And so even if you think it's a silly question, try to take the time to give them an honest answer. And they usually appreciate that. So.
And Jeremy, sheep aren't exactly what you would call the smartest animals, I guess. What's the craziest thing you've had happen on your farm?
Oh gosh, it's funny that you bring that up because I always kind of joke that they're not known to be the smartest, and yet usually they tend to outsmart us when we're working with them. So what does that say about us?
Right.
Really, what I would always say is they just have their own way of thinking, and their own instincts and their own behavior. And if you understand that behavior, it's a little easier to kind of work with them. They do seem to find very creative ways to take themselves out of the gene pool.
That's so polite,
something
Jeremy.
new happens every year, and I'm like, how? I've been raising sheep for 40-some years, and I've never seen this before, and it happens. So I would say that those are some of the things. I had an interesting thing last summer where I came home one day and my sheep had managed to let themselves out of their pen and close and lock the gate behind them.
Well, you have polite sheep. How kind.
Yeah. And they spent the day wandering around the yard and eating and drinking the dog's food and water. And when I got home, they just kind of stood and looked at me, and I just opened the gate. I may have said a few 4-letter words, and they all ran back in their pen.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. So if you think about it, Jeremy, where would we send kids? I know that I've got a story coming up here next week regarding here in North Dakota, youth can apply to have like a starter flock where they can get involved.
Yep.
Can you tell me anything about, as we have our last couple of moments, tell us how kids could get involved in that sort of thing, and then also how people could reach out to you with additional questions they might have about starting their own sheep production enterprises.
Absolutely. So that project you're referring to is run through the North Dakota Lamb and Wool Producers. And
yes.
So you could talk to anybody on that board. I know they have a website to find out more information about that. NDSU is one of the few land-grant universities left that does have an excellent sheep production program and flock of sheep on campus. And so they're a wonderful resource as well. And they do a lot of work with youth and kids in the area too. So highly recommend both of them. I'm easy enough to find. I have, my Twitter handle, my Facebook page. I have a website. People can reach me through a variety of ways. So happy to help people anytime if they have questions about raising sheep or getting started in sheep production.
That would be great. And, you bring up a really good point. You and I both, as proud NDSU graduates, NDSU still does have 4 different research facilities, one specifically to sheep, one to hogs, one to dairy, and one to beef, right there on campus property where they still have their own herds. And that's pretty spectacular. Not a lot of universities have that anymore.
That's exactly right. And it's a big draw for students. When I'm trying to get students to come to Mankato, and they're like, well, I can go here, I can go there. And NDSU has some things to offer that many other places don't. So.
Awesome. Our guest today has been Jeremy Geske. Jeremy's originally from Carrington, North Dakota, but he's now down around Mankato, Minnesota. And we've been talking all about sheep and all of the bad things that can happen, or good. I love it that I can make Dean shake his head again at me. Folks, we're going to catch up with the American Ag Network right after this. And when we return, we're going to talk a little bit about national weather and just touch on a couple of ag headlines. So be right back. Please stay with us.
Hi, this is Stacy from Midtown Tavern, featuring Dwayne's House of Pizza. Who else in town has a glycol polar plate system? What? It's a secondary system for chilling tap beer. Put that in one of our frosted mugs and it's the coldest beer in town. Everyone wants the coldest beer. Midtown Tavern has it. Combine that with a Dwayne's Pizza, as well as our vast menu with many handmade menu items, specials every day of the week, and a multi-purpose room up to 50 people. Stop in to visit us. The Midtown Tavern, 2223 Highway 10 East in Moorhead.
Find trustworthy car repair.
Okay, here's what I found.
Hi, I'm Matthew, owner of Fix It Forward Auto Care. We're confident that we can handle whatever your vehicle needs. From hybrid cars to full-size trucks, no job is too big or too small for our ASE certified technicians. We focus on quality, integrity, and giving back to the community at each of our 3 Fargo, Moorhead, and West Fargo locations. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix It Forward Auto Care.
Have you ever thought about selling your home but quickly talk yourself out of it when you consider all the repairs, cleaning, inspections, open houses, and the unknown of what price your home will actually sell at? Stop stressing. We will buy your home as is with no appraisals or costly commissions to worry about. You can even pick your closing date. Call me, John Osala with JK Property Partners at 701-306-3229 or go to fargohomevalues.com for an instant valuation.
When it's time to replace your old countertops with the fresh look of stone, think Brockmeyer Tile and Stone. We've added a gorgeous new showroom in Fargo and can't wait to help make those remodel dreams reality. Featuring over 200 styles and colors of quartz and granite that's quarry to kitchen. At Brockmeyer Tile and Stone, we specialize in custom fabrication, and no project is too big or too small. Our showroom is sure to become your go-to for all your next projects. For granite and quartz and sinks too. Brockmeyer Tile and Stone, 833 24th Avenue East, West Fargo, just south of Costco.
Corn and beans firm, wheat's off. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Risvet with this closing market. Corn and wheat started the day lower, while beans started a few pennies above. The beans did extend their gains throughout the day, and corn turned itself around midday. Wheat, however, did stay lower on the day, although it did pare back some of its losses seen earlier this morning. Now, wheat prices posted a triple bottom on the charts over the past week, and triple bottoms are not known for holding, and so it's been difficult to find buyers for wheat today, allowing prices to linger in that negative territory. However, there has also been a relative shortage of sellers willing to drive prices significantly lower amid lingering concerns about whether the export channels will remain open in Ukraine. On the other hand, though, we did see buyers emerge to support corn and bean prices near the bottom of their recent trading range. The livestock complex was mixed to lower. However, lean hogs around noonish or so did start seeing some support back into the contracts. We got good news that according to Tom Russell of Russell Marine Group, that he said all river closures on the Mississippi are open as of today, and barge traffic is moving according to the restricted guidelines. We're also seeing some falling rain in Illinois, giving that Mississippi River a brief taste of what it needs much, much more of. December soybean meal rebounded after yesterday's loss, with a return to bull spreading suggesting active commercial demand. Let's get a look at the closing commodity numbers. December corn up 4 3/4 at 6.86 1/4. November beans up 10 at 13.82. Wheat Chicago December down 4 at 8.34 3/4. Kansas City December down 3.5 at 9.34 1/2. And the Minneapolis December wheat, that is up 1 1/4 at 9.59. Live cattle October up 7 cents at 151.67. Feeders October up 92 at 176.60. And the December lean hogs, they are up 52 at 88.45. While the Dow right now is up almost 300 points, the dollar sits at 110.7, and crude oil is trading up almost $1 at just over $85 a barrel. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Risvet.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Want to thank everybody again for joining us this afternoon. We're going to take a quick hit here on national weather and talk about national weather because, well, a lot of national news going on with everything from the first snow of the season in the Rockies, where they picked up 1 to some spots 2 feet. Great news for the snowpack. And obviously, we've all heard about how low the Mississippi is and how that's affecting barge traffic.
Yes.
Got some good news. So over the next 7 days, we're looking at a good swath of 1 to 3 inches of rain stretching from northern and northeastern Illinois. In fact, most of the state of Illinois, all the way through southern Missouri, basically right along the Mississippi River Basin, all the way through Memphis, down towards Mississippi, Alabama, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches. So that rain up north in the Great Lakes will obviously trickle down into the Mississippi, and this should help. It's not going to alleviate the problem, that's for sure, but it's going to help a little bit. This should raise the river levels at least somewhat as that water kind of goes right into the Mississippi River Basin. So that's good news for them. For the rest of the northern plains, the next week looks dry. The only really wet spots, again, are in the, let's say, the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley, and the southern tier of the U.S. Looks pretty wet, which is good. They need the rain. Right. They're in drought conditions as well. Some moderate rainfall, 1/4 to 1/2 inch in areas of the central plains. Other than that, the southwest is dry. Much of the northern plains are dry. The northern Great Lakes are dry. The Pacific Northwest is going to be battered, both Washington and Oregon, with a lot of rainfall over the next week. That's good news because that means these storm systems are starting to parade, or they will start to parade into the West Coast. And right. I do see a little pattern change on that next week where we'll start to see a few more of these storms come in. And again, we need these not to just hop, skip across the Rockies. We need these to slow down, dig, tap the Gulf of Mexico, and bring that moisture northward into our area. And right now, don't see it, at least for the next week. Hopefully we can get that to change here after Halloween, it looks like.
Right. And, some areas are worse than others. There's no doubt. We certainly have heard that with the Southern Valley. I've had a number of folks say, it was kind of our turn, right? We hadn't been dry for a while, so it's our turn, but we'd really like to recharge that soil and be ready to go for next year.
Yeah, and like we were talking about the LRC is last year up to this point, we had over 2 inches of rain from the start of the LRC to now, which is only 2.5, 3 weeks. We need to flip the switch here soon. Because if we go into, let's say, 30, 40 days into the LRC and we're looking at a 1/4 inch or less of precip, that spells some big-time trouble for our ag community as we head into not only the winter, but the spring and fall.
Absolutely.
Or spring and summer.
And also for just anyone as a consumer, did you put new lawn down? Well, you kind of want to get some moisture on it to keep that going. Did you plant some new trees? Well, next Friday, Randy Nelson with Clay County Extension Educator, he's going to be on, and we can talk about this dry condition, what we should be doing to nurture any trees that were recently planted too.
And no reason to set the panic button just yet.
No.
Again, if we go another 3 weeks and it's this dry, then we have something to worry about. But I do see a few storms coming in here over the next 10 days.
Okay.
It'll be later next week.
There'll be some things going on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, along the lines of, let's talk about things that we can celebrate a little bit. And there's 2 of them that come to mind. First and foremost, coming up in mid-November will be the Harvest Bowl at NDSU. Harvest Bowl is not just a football game, it's a banquet. Started in 1973. Harvest Bowl has since awarded over 2,900 farm families a award for being top agriculturalists in their counties, and over $425,000 in scholarship money to student athletes who are from farms and ranches or majoring in agriculture. And what happens is at the banquet prior to the football game, every county, all 53 in North Dakota, have a farm family that represents them and their leadership in agriculture, and also the 10 most western counties from Minnesota. So we look forward to celebrating Harvest Bowl coming up on November the 18th. This week is one of my favorite weeks. It's National FFA Convention. There are 65,000 FFA members currently on their way or in Indianapolis, Indiana. This is the 95th convention. Students are going to be attending leadership sessions, going to the overall general sessions, voting in new student leaders, the new national president and vice presidents for the coming year. They also are competing in contests. North Dakota is well represented in contests that range from agronomy, livestock judging, to leadership, as well as, and when I say leadership, that's a really general term, but the Colfax chapter, Richland County 44, just south of us, they created a placemat for restaurants to use with agricultural facts. Every year they update it and they distribute it to area restaurants. That's one thing that students are doing to show their leadership and to bring agriculture to the forefront of their regions. So there are also students that are participating in a variety of other contests, public speaking, parliamentary procedure, etc. We'll see how they fare and get some of those results back once they return. But I think North Dakota will do well.
And want to give a shout out to Parker on Facebook. He sent us a picture earlier.
He did. He's one of our followers. I don't know if I want to say it's a shout out, but something has happened, and there's a picture of a fertilizer spreader tipped over.
So hopefully everything is okay down there with Parker.
We'll find out. I don't know if that was him or just in the neighborhood, but we'll ask some
It
questions.
just goes, you got to be careful.
Be safe out there.
Be safe during harvest season.
Absolutely. Make sure your slow-moving vehicle signs are on your vehicles, and as drivers, just slow down. We are certainly on the backside of our harvest, and we want to make sure that people are just being cautious out there every day.
And corn's about the only thing left, right?
For the most part, we've wrapped up potatoes, we've wrapped up sugar beets. There might be the occasional soybean field, but really we're just down to corn and sunflower.
Have you heard of the extreme dry conditions, like slowing things down?
Well, when you get to Dickinson, they certainly slowed the yields, or even if you're just west of Bismarck. But as far as slowing them down, there are days that folks might not be going because the wind is so vicious. And when you have high winds like that and you get any sort of a spark, boy, you can light a fire pretty fast.
Right.
And there have been some combine fires. I know of about 3 of them so far. Most everybody's back up and operational, but it's slow to find parts, and it's hard to keep going when you got to do fixes like that.
Right. And I know you've got something on our spreadsheet here about how do tires affect your soil?
Okay, so we're getting to the point where equipment's being put away. And start checking your tires as you put them back in the shed. Look for cracks and wear, but also inflation. and not the kind that affect your dollar. But if your tires are overinflated, underinflated, it's tough for the wear on the tires. They're one of those parts right now that's very slow to get when you need the larger agricultural tires. But also, when you have machines going across ground, especially when we get to the wet cycles, compaction. And it compacts our soils, and it makes it hard for the roots of like a corn or a wheat plant to spread out underground. And in order to reach nutrients, water, et cetera, as it would need. So tires play a big part in compacting your soils. So making sure you have the right inflation on your tires so we don't have that matters pretty heavily in the agricultural world. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it does.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes a difference.
Right. Well, let's wrap up the forecast real quick here. So we've got a lot of clouds still around. I am seeing some breaks in the clouds here, and I think we'll continue to see breaks in the clouds as we head towards evening. I think we're going to be stuck in the 40s today. We were hoping for low 50s, and if we see enough sun here after 3, 4 o'clock, we might push 50 degrees, but we'll clear things out tonight. And light winds out of the northwest will drop down to a low near 30, and tomorrow more sunshine, I promise you. And we'll have slightly warmer temperatures in the low 50s with a wind out of the south around 5, about 5 to 15. Then as we head towards tomorrow, we're looking at Thursday, more clouds, maybe a few sprinkles, and then warmer 60s by the weekend.
I do want to give a shout out to Mark Huseth. He is at McLeod, North Dakota, and he just recently received the Top Hand Award from North Dakota Stockmen's Association. So, okay, we'll give him a little... There we go.
Right.
For Mark. They run an operation down there in the Sandhills, and actually it began in 1903 with his grandfather. But the Top Hand Award recognizes that this gentleman shows unselfish concern for himself, for humanity, the country, and the cattle industry. And he joins a very exclusive class of only 24 ranchers who've received this award over the 93-year history of North Dakota Stockmen's Association.
Good for him. That's awesome.
I think that's pretty
good
cool.
news.
Yeah.
Well, that is going to wrap it up for Weather and Ag in Focus. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, whether it be through WDAY or through Acres TV or watching us online. We appreciate it. And again, we'll have a great guest tomorrow, which is...
Gene McAvoy.
Yes.
He's with the University of Florida, Southwest Florida Research and Education Center. We're going to talk about the citrus crop, but it's not just about Hurricane Ian. There's more to the story, and Gene's going to share it with us.
Fantastic. So for Bridgette, myself, and hey, we're going to have Justin back tomorrow, so the gang will all be back here.
Right.
Thanks again for joining us. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next. Have a great day.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM.